with a 64 present. A Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi there once again, and welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. Continuing with our Mastertronic series, we continue with Street Surfer, developed by Sculptured Software and published by Mastertronic in 1986. From the title screen, we can press fire to enter the game itself, and here we play as a street racer on a skateboard. By pushing forward we can accelerate, and by pressing the fire button there we can jump for a 1 second jump, which hopefully will get us over those gaps in the road. The aim of Street Surfer is to collect as many bottles per stage as possible. See there, even the drivers will wave bottles in our direction, and we can collect those for an extra pickup. After Trash Man, released in 1984, this is only the second game in the world based on recycling, and so all we have to do is strafe the sides of the road, picking up all the bottles and stealing bottles off other drivers. We can take those to the recycler, which is waiting for us at the end of each stage. You can see in the bottom right corner we have a visual representation of the distance we have to travel on each stage. In stage 1 that will only be 3 miles, and then it will be 4 miles on every subsequent stage. And sometimes it's easier to go for the bottles at the side of the road rather than trying to get those from the traffic, and they will certainly be easier to find those by the sides of the road on these early levels. They will become infrequent as the levels progress, and they are complete random, so sometimes you don't know where those bottles are going to be. And you can also see chickens in the road as well, but you can see there I'm attempting to slow down yet again, attempting to grab that bottle. Having completed stage 1, we have 6 bottles, and now we can throw those into the recycler, which will actually avoid us extra health. At this stage, the bottles will give us a lot of extra health, and as you will see later on, the bottles don't give us much health after a while, so best to make use of those and top up our health all the way to the top. Yes, if we collect 10 bottles, that will automatically give us full health going on to the second stage. You can see there the player really has to put their foot down on these early stages, because otherwise they will get run over by the traffic, who appear in both lanes. Usually the cars on the left lane will offer us a bottle, and the ones on the right will offer us an opportunity to get run over. So avoid the right hand lane, because the cars in the right will overtake at a high speed, and as we shall see later on, they really do make life difficult. You can see the signs on the side of the road saying soft verge, and if we go too far up the side of the road we will crash and die, and if we don't, well, we'll slow down. And look at that, the road determined to throw us off there, and we blew up because we went too far into the scenery. As we slow down to pick up those bottles, sometimes we will veer into the path of oncoming traffic, and that gives us absolutely no chance whatsoever, and that wipes off 4 blocks of energy, which is quite a lot at this stage. And we are rarely seeing those bottles now at the side of the road. See, I'm fighting with the controls in this game. Unlike Night Racer, the controls are tight, yet they are very tricky, and sometimes avoiding these boulders or pits of death, whatever they are, is tricky, and avoiding those chickens is obviously at random. We can hit fire to jump over those, but because we can only jump for 1 second, sometimes hitting fire doesn't always work. So we still have a mile to go, and we are avoiding those things as best as possible. Sometimes it's best just to slow down to match the speed of the traffic there, and that cuts down the risk of getting injured. If we match the speed of the traffic, that doesn't really help collecting the bottles because we'll slow down when we collect those, but given enough power there, you can see at least we really do get some frame rates out of this game engine, and yes, you can crash into vehicles just like that. In the meantime, we've made it as far as our second checkpoint, and we've collected 5 bottles. Unfortunately, at this stage, that will only top up our energy a little, and we really need more than that if we want to survive onto the later levels. This game infinitely loops, and there really is no variation, except the cars get harder and the empties give us less energy. So the game does get more difficult, and these levels are pretty much at random, so it's not like you can memorize these levels, and avoiding the rocks there is always a hazard. Sometimes it's best to look forward onto the horizon and judge your maneuvers depending on those rocks, and sometimes that makes life very difficult indeed. We can vary our speed, and as you saw, we can get a tremendous speed out of this graphics engine, and sometimes varying the player speed is the best option, but sometimes weaving from side to side trying to find those bottles is a better option, otherwise you might get stuck in the traffic. If you can overtake a slow driver like this, then so much the better, but watch out because those slow drivers will also appear behind, and if we aren't fast off the mark, it really does take time to speed up and slow down in this game, so if we aren't very fast on the acceleration department, we might find ourselves flattened to the road. Luckily, you can see there we are over the 1,000 barrier, but those potholes again slows down, and traffic there endless beeping their horns trying to get us out of the way. So perhaps the best tip is to maintain an average speed around the centre of the road there, and that will give us plenty of time to avoid the obstacles and plenty of time to avoid the traffic. You can see there the cars will overtake even at this speed. Now that we're on this level 3 and we're heading towards level 4, the traffic will get faster and faster. On the later levels, the traffic in the right hand lane will overtake very fast indeed, and sometimes they will destroy the player just like that. So you can see me there trying to find the average speed, and that gives us the best chance of avoiding all this danger. By the end of each section, it is best to stay alive, and you can see there I'm trying to reserve myself and preserve the energy before we get to that checkpoint. There's nothing worse than dying within sight of the line. Unfortunately, we cannot find any more bottles, and we've only managed to find 2 on that section. So the levels do get tricky, and these controls only just give us enough controllability to make this game fun. But at least they do that, and here we are again back to the recycler with our 2 bottles. And they make a noise like a fart, and so a burp and a fart after drinking all that cola means we can carry on onto the next level. So you can see that the cars really do start to overtake us now, and the speed really does have to be maintained throughout. So while you see me trying to maintain that, a little about this game. This game was coded by David Barber, who went from creating the top-rated Zeppelin in 1994. He created the horse racing game Sport of Kings in 1986, and then moved on to the Living Daylights with DeMark in 1987. The title picture was created by Steve Pickford, who also, just like Robin Levy, is a great graphics artist on the Commodore 64. You might remember Steve Pickford's art on Ghosts and Goblins and Feud. The music does speed up as we speed through this game, and that was created by David Whittaker, who mostly worked for Codemasters, creating the likes of ATV Simulator and BMX Simulator music. He also created the music for Dizzy, Grand Prix Simulator, Night Games for English Soft in 1986, and the Great Panther music in 1986. Before moving on again to the Living Daylights in 1987. I think this game is very well coded. In fact, for $1.99 you can't really complain. It has the smoothness, it has the speed, it has the difficulty, and the controls in this game just about make life possible. The music is well done, and certainly speeding through this game with fast music adds an extra element to this game. And returning to the action there, you can see if we match the speed of that driver, just like this, by the time we get to this stage, you can see the driver intermittently high-tails it out of there, bombs off into the distance. If if we are in front of that driver, when he does that, we'll get flattened. And so you can see the levels do progress there, even though they are virtually identical. The randomness of these items really does tax the player, and it is certainly not a pushover. So now we get in front of that other driver, and hopefully when that guy speeds off into the distance, we won't get killed. Luckily, we reached the line again. So I really do like the quenching noises of the guy taking down the soda, but the 40 burpee noises when we get those into the recycler aren't amazing. So it certainly is a difficult game, and certainly is a challenge. Moving on to the scores, Zap only gave this 29% in 1986, Commodore User gave this 70%, and the magazine Your Computer gave this game 5 out of 5, which is 100% in December 1986. So averagely, this game is worth a 6 out of 10, and it's certainly great for the $1.99 Mastertronic budget release. But you can see there, I'm taking my time, trying to save my energy, and that's what you have to do on these later levels. But you can see there, the bottle will flash when it's actually on parallel with us. It will flash red, so let's see if we can get that and quench our thirst. And no, we can't, because we're too busy avoiding these pits in the road. Certainly road works are a major hazard, so let's speed up and let's try that again. Again, I really do like the sound effect of the guy chugging cola down from a bottle, and that is perhaps the most well done sound effect of somebody drinking cola I've perhaps ever heard. On the downside, these bends are very tricky and this game is quite flimsy. But let's put our foot down. We can always outpace those hazards and that traffic as long as we manoeuvre our way around those things. Let's put our foot down and see if we can't get some speed out of this engine. At maximum speed there, you can certainly see power comes from that trusty Commodore 64, and unless we touch the sides we can get a tremendous frame rate out of this engine. Unfortunately, we only have 0.4 miles to go now, and we only have one empty collected. So snatching another one from that guy there looks appropriate, but unfortunately we've made it again to the checkpoint. So let's see how much energy we get from one bottle. Virtually nothing. So on again, this is stage 6 or thereabouts. Do we slow down for the bottle? Do we speed up for the bottle? Or do we die? When all our health is used after one too many crashes, then our board will sail off into the sunset and we will be no longer a part of it. But you can see we actually die there if we get killed, and the board there will ride off with the appropriate music. But there are just too many annoyances in this game to make it an absolute classic. Like, look at that, we start a brand new game and we die straight away. So thank you for viewing a play guide and review to this high speed budget gem. Hope to see you again in another review sometime soon.